Welcome back to another lesson where we will be looking at atoms, elements, and compounds. After which, we'll apply them to some real GCSE exam questions and see how we do. Now, it's an important topic because it has various different links, such as definition questions, bonding, both ionic and covalent, the periodic table, chemical reactions, and lastly, calculations. Right, let's get started. So, atoms. Now, these are the smallest part of an element that can exist, and we have various examples on the screen, such as carbon, copper, magnesium, hydrogen, and so on. Remember, these are singular atoms. Let's have a look at applying this. Here's a question. Take the next minute to decide what the answer is. Okay, let's see how we've done. The answer to this question was B, oxygen, or O. Let's have a look at why. Starting off with carbon dioxide, we've got carbon and two oxygens here. So it can't be an atom because there are multiple of them. Whereas O2, whilst is oxygen, there are two of the atoms bonded together. And remember, it's a single atom. And lastly, air, well, this is a mixture of various compounds, and we can see those on the screen. And the correct answer, O for oxygen, is an oxygen atom, a singular particle. Okay, now that we understand what an atom is, let's have a look at elements. By definition, an element is a substance that is made up of one type of atom. And we can see those on the screen, where we've got hydrogen. Whilst there are two of them in this case, they are one type of atom. Krypton, a singular atom. Carbon, and again, with those oxygens, they're a single type of atom. Using that, try to decide which of these are elements. Take the next minute to do so. Okay, let's see how we've done. The answer to this question is A and C. Let's have a look at why. Both of these are elements, in which case they are made up of one type of atom. Using the formula N2, well, there are only Ns, or nitrogens, and oxygen has the formula O2, so only oxygens. Whilst B and D are compound, which we'll have a look at, B and D are made up of more than one type of atom. Right, let's build on this. So, a compound. A compound is where two or more different types of elements are chemically bonded. And again, we have examples of those on the screen. Water, H2O, there's hydrogens, oxygens. We have magnesium oxide, our ionic compound. Now let's look at applying this on this question here. Take the next minute to decide the answer. Welcome back. Let's have a look at the answers. Water and potassium oxide are compounds. So, nitrogen and oxygen, we've had a look at these examples before, where they are only made up of one type of atom, so they cannot be compounds. They are elements. Whilst again, B and D, potassium oxide, there are two different types of atoms here, and they are chemically bonded together. This is our ionic compounds, which we'll have a look at a future video. And then we've got water, H2O. Again, two different types of atoms, and they are chemically bonded. Okay, now the last little bit here before we move on to the exam questions. Compounds versus mixtures, and it's a key differentiator between the two. Now, we understand that compounds are made up of two different types of elements, which need to be chemically bonded, whereas a mixture is made up of two different types of atoms or elements, but they are not chemically bonded, and that's the key differentiation between the two. Compounds, chemically bonded, mixtures, not chemically bonded. Here are some examples. On the left-hand side, we've got compounds, water molecules, which, again, H2O, hydrogens and oxygens. Whereas on the right-hand side, we have mixtures. In this case, we've got a mixture of elements. We've got hydrogens and we've got oxygens. Let's try and apply this to some questions. So our first past paper question is as follows. Take the next minute to work through this before we go through the answers. And here's the answer to this question. Okay, let's have a look at another example. Here's the answers. And one final question before we wrap up the video. Sort these into the correct column for compounds, mixtures, and elements. Again, you have a minute to complete this. And finally, the answers to this question. A key point here with the mixtures for both beer and milk. These are made of various different chemicals, but those chemicals are not bonded to each other. It's a mixture. Okay, let's summarize. Now we've looked at atoms, elements, compounds, and mixtures, as well as the examples and definitions that go along with those. And that's it for this video. Our next lesson will be on atomic models and subatomic particles. I hope you found this useful. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.